to draw from being here with you. I hope you are encouraged by being here, recognizing God's presence and being assembled together. And you look around and just take a moment. Look, these people haven't quit believing. And they have hardships and struggles just like you. And they're here saying, Lord, take control. I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it. And that's our journey together. With God's help, we'll get there. Amen? Last night, I got a phone call from Nicaragua. Jacob Barbareno, who a lot of you met, because having traveled down there, starts in chatting with me, and we speak Spanglish together, because he speaks English good. Most of our conversation last night was more in the English, because my Spanish or whatever. But I knew he was headed towards something. He calls me often. And so last night he says, let me tell you what's going to happen Sunday. I said, okay. I'm thinking, uh-oh. He said, Sunday morning we're going to have a shorter service, just combined worship and not do the class. And then we're going to ask everybody in the congregation, women included, to stay, and we're going to have a church meeting. And I thought, uh-oh, what's going on? And then he said, here's what we're doing. He said, the men of the congregation have sat down and decided we need to begin now in planning growth for this coming year. And the fact that they're aiming toward a medical campaign that most of Central is aware of that's coming up in June. And some of you are going down there for that month. A lot of you are supporting, and our elders will be talking about that as an expense instead of somewhere down the road too, and you know that. But he says, there's a whole lot going on, and he said, and we want to be prepared for the arrival. We want to be on top of the game as far as the spiritual understanding. And so we're going to be challenging the people, asking them to look back over this last year, to analyze maybe some of the weaknesses we had, and then think about the future and what we're going to be doing. And I thought, amen. And so at this very moment, Alfredo is preaching about spiritual growth. And in just a short time, they're an hour behind us, they're going to go into a break, and they're going to gather back together, and they're going to talk about their weaknesses and what they need to do as a church and individually to grow. And that's exactly, I told him, that how what are we doing this morning? So I said, while you're doing that, I'm going to be doing that, and we're going to be united together in that effort. I thought, that's nice. And we've been devoting ourselves for a long time in helping that church. And now I'm on the receiving end, being challenged by their efforts. And that small congregation of about 60 people, and what they're going to do. And the hopes and the plans that they have, that they share with us, and we share with them. Isn't that something amazing? Amen. To watch leadership coming out of that church that's aiming itself toward that, instead of waiting for us to tell them, hey, it's time to be doing this. Now we're getting a message from them. I like it. Like it a lot. So we're going to talk about spiritual growth, and there's a couple of things that I wanted to make you aware of here. Number one, there's two things in the rear of the auditorium as you leave, and also in the foyer down here and on the front. One is a basic Bible reading schedule. Now for you that have the cell phones, this is archaic, I know. But for those of us who still carry a Bible around and like a little piece of paper to check it off, it's there. This year, get ready for that. We're starting now for that, not waiting until January. Next one is a brochure we just got finished. My Spiritual Growth. We designed this here at Central. Got it printed here locally. Somebody we happen to know in our congregation is printing right here. Some extra design work too. Thanks for everybody. It talks about goals, things that you have seen along the journey of God working, some things that you might want to think about as far as spiritual growth. Challenges for you. Now this one's worth, I know it doesn't fit inside your cell phone, but most of you have a Bible too. In there. Jot some things down and keep up with what's going on. We start now preparing for January. And that's what we're talking about this morning. Now here's what's happening here. Over the last several weeks, I've been thinking about this lesson and dabbling in a variety of different things. And I'm glad that we're back at what we're doing this morning here about this. It's hard. It is incredibly hard to talk about spiritual growth and think about marking off little things that we're aiming toward when our life is so overwhelmed with so many other things. And you're listening to the preacher talk about these things, and you're thinking, I know I need to do this, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add it back in there. But the fact is, you're carrying this huge, huge burden of all these things you're trying to do, and you're trying to figure out how to manage it all. And out of the top of the thing, what you're really wanting is peace. Right? See some smiles. And the spiritual growth really is going to aim you toward that, but you don't really look at it that way. Now, am I right? Chris, you still awake? He worked all night, barely says. He worked all night long. I told him I'd call his name out once in a while here. Everybody else still there? If you fall asleep, that's okay. I fell asleep twice last night while I was working on this, so you won't be the first. But if you don't have peace, how are you going to grow? How are you going to be able to put that in? What's going to motivate you to aim toward God? Because you got all this other stuff going on. Proverbs 4. Guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it springs forth the issues of life. That's everything that goes on. Everything that's happening, that's embedded in your heart, that's planted in there, that's stirring around and troubling you. If that heart is jam-packed with everything, it's hard to have peace. Am I on target? And if you don't have peace, you're not going to be able to put one step forward to really having spiritual growth. I'm going to stir the hornet's nest for a second. Over the last several weeks, we have listened to newspapers and TV programs, and, well, not the programs per se, but the news and all of that stuff stirring about everything going on in our world. Everything. From politics to North Korea to nuclear to everybody behaving like they ought to. And then on top of that, we have these gadgets. Most of you have them. Is that right? Yes. Okay? And it is not unusual, like I saw the day before yesterday, it was like a 100-foot step from the garage door to the mailbox, some younger woman going out and she's going to get her mail. Now, how many of you have run into a telephone post doing this? Because this has consumed our life. I'm not preaching to the older people yet, but we'll get to the young people. Because they got other things that are consuming their life too. And some of that is the North Korean issues and the 401ks and the retirement and the health and all that. And every bit of that stuff, bear with me here, because we're headed towards some spiritual matters, has got our lives so crowded that we can't hardly think. That we can't break out of that mold. Am I right? And out of everything, we look toward that magical December 25th and we think, not what gift am I going to get, but am I going to get just a moment of time of peace in the midst of everything else happening? You know, okay, the relatives are coming, or we're going, and we're going to be fixing this and adding that and buying these gifts, and all of that's consuming us in the middle of North Korea and all these issues of these guys that are in trouble for this person and that and everything else. And it is swirling in our minds and it's got us so consumed, I can't breathe. And I go, I'm supposed to preach Sunday. About spiritual growth. That Colossian passage, chapter 3. And it talked about the peace of God that rules your hearts. And I thought, there's the clue. That's what I want to aim toward. So this morning and tonight, trying to get that really in the heart. And there are things you have to do to get that to happen in order to be able to put the one step forward and have that spiritual growth. John, in 1 John chapter 2, has a very important verse here. 15 and 16. Do not love the world. Got that? Who wants it? Open up the newspapers, listen to the news. I don't want that stuff. I don't care who they fire over what. I don't want that stuff. I don't want it in my life. I don't want it in my... I don't love the world. But it's taking control. We're just saying, Lord, take control. But it's taking control of our lives. That's all I'm thinking about. It's all I hear. And all that's embedded in me. And if it's not this, then what's my Facebook messages saying now and this and that? 3 o'clock this morning. My phone's going off. And I thought, who on earth is sending me a message? Slick Deals. That's an app you can get, by the way, for Christmas specials. And there's 2 seconds. And on top of that, Melanie's was going off and mine's going off. And it's all over the house. That's the world. It's crying out for attention. And we feel like we've got an answer. So John says, don't love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Now, if you're passionate after that, you can't love God. But here's the other side of it. If it's sucking you into it, it's hard to turn around and look at God either. There's 2 ways of looking at that passage. It's so consuming to us, we can't breathe. We can't think spiritual. For all that is in the world, and then he lists 3 basic things. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and pride of life. It's not of the Father. It's of the world. Go ask Eve. She was happy. She was at peace in that garden. Until Satan came along and said, hey, try that tree. Then she had to have it. And that was all that was in her mind. And she didn't have a cell phone. But it was enough. She was overwhelmed with it. That was all she needed. And now I feel like I'm just jam-packed into this garbage can with all this garbage stacked around me, and I can't move. And it's kind of smelly. And Satan has promised me, the world has promised me, it's going to do this for you if you get this and gain that and buy this and understand that, and you can get ahead. And it's like, oh no, it doesn't. I want peace. I'm tired of the world. I'm too old to fool with it. Go ahead, young people, say amen. But it becomes like an addiction. Gotta have it. The other night they were supposed to vote on this tax thing. 11 o'clock, watching the last part of the news, and I was dozing off. They didn't vote on it. What I do when I got up the next morning, turn that TV on. Did they vote on it? What does it matter? It's not going to change my preaching. It's not going to affect my Bible studies. It's not going to affect my relationship with my brothers and sisters in Christ or with God. And that's the bottom line. But I had to know. And so we get so worked up in all this stuff. We live in the world, someone says, but we're not supposed to be part of it. I read today, or the other day, this phrase. The boat's in the water, but the water shouldn't be in the boat. And if the water gets in the boat, then you've got problems. Now you see what I'm talking about. So Colossians chapter 2, verse 8. Paul says, beware lest anyone cheat you through philosophy or empty deceit. And then he names these areas. According to the traditions of the world. All these things that the world's feeding you, I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to give you that, and you can get ahead here, and you can get this, and you can get your best deals, you can look your best, and you'll have the right this and the right that, and everything will be fine, and you'll be happy. And you'll have peace. No, it won't. Don't get cheated. Well, chapter 3, Paul begins to lay out, I think, what are steps, you can say, toward getting the right direction, to get that peace that's mentioned in verse 15. That peace of God that needs to really rule. And rule just means that he's going to come in and he's going to straighten up the house. Let him organize it. It's not like, I'm in charge here. Can I wake up, Chris? Okay. And I'm in charge. It's not what God's up to. It's like, let me come in and straighten your life. Let me be in charge. And it's going to work. Because I fixed this thing. You know, I put it into action and I made you. I know how you function. So you start with verse 1. If then you're raised with Christ, if you're calling yourself a Christian, seek the things that are above, where Christ is. Now again, it's hard to look up when we're looking out, okay? So he's going to deal with that. But you've got to start with the right place to look. Okay, so here goes this guy. He's going into a store and he says, hey, got a plumbing problem at home. He said, I lift the lid up off the toilet, and that thing that dabbles up and down, it's just kind of dangling, and it won't. He says, you mean the float? He goes, yeah, that's it. He said, well, it's doing something over here, and it's not shutting the water off, and it's running everywhere. He says, you turn the water off? Yeah, I shut it off now. He says, that's good. He says, well, we don't have that part here. Oh, okay, well, I'll go to the next aisle. He goes over to the next aisle, and he's over here, and he's checking, what about this part of this plane? The guy says, we don't have that. So he's going around this whole store, and finally somebody says, this is Toys R Us. We don't carry that thing here. If we spend all our life in the Toys R Us of the world, it's hard to look up. You look in the wrong place. If you've been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, not at the Toys R Us store. Now, they'll tantalize you with toys. And the world will lay it out like, there's what you've got to have. Oh, this is it. And you'll walk away thinking, I've got it. I'm going to be happy now. I'm going to be at peace. No, you're not. So you got to look at the right place. You got to look at God. Yeah, you're a preacher. You're supposed to say that. I'm just as troubled inside here as you are. And just as convicted about looking at this the right way as you are. Discovering it together. Set your mind, the next verse says, number 2, on the things above. So we're still at the above thing. Don't forget it. You know how we are. Ladies, you know how these guys are. You tell them, don't forget to get this when you go to the store. What was that again? I told you. Did you put it on your list? Oh, yeah, I got it on the list. Comes back to get it. Forgot to take the list with me. Okay. So we got to be reminded. So we're back at this above thing here. Seek the above. Set or focus your mind on that. Because you will get distracted. So firmly pointed toward that you can't be swayed by all this other stuff going on around here. Because there's a ton of it. And if you don't have enough, Satan will send some more your way. He'll tantalize you and there'll be flickering lights and all this other. It just looked like the best thing. But it's not your focus. Remember now, you want peace. Don't buy into what Satan's telling you. Seek the things that are above and then set your mind. Lock it in. Bolt it down and clamp it in. Set your mind on things above where Christ is. Then there's some things you got to do with your body. Some things to take off, some things to kill, and then some things to put on. Verse 5. Therefore, put to death your members which are on the earth. And then it lists some ugly sins. And some of us got in trouble with these. I've counseled with people that have problems with this. And all it does is tear their life up. And they're trying to figure out how to get it out. It didn't bring peace like Satan promised. There was joy for a moment, and there was anguish forever. And they're trying to get out of the addiction, and it's tough. Put to death fornication, uncleanness, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, which is idolatry. In which you yourselves, you talk about all those Christians out there, Paul knows how they are, how we all are. We once walked. We lived that way. We behaved that way. Put to death. We talked about it in the class this morning. That's a drastic thing to do. You've got to kill it off to get rid of it. But it talks about your members, and we mentioned that in the class too. It's like, it is part of you. It is who you are. Jesus says, if your eye offends you, pluck it out and cast it off. Because it's better to be blind in this earth than not to enter heaven. So some things are going to have to be literally put to death. Those things are so precious that we carry them as part of us. Got to die. It is not just a little habit I'm going to kick someday. Kill it off with a passion. Just like, I'm not sure what your fears are. Naomi, what's your fear? You like spiders? No. That's her fear. And if you see one, okay. And call somebody to kill it. They have in Southeast Asia a snake about this long, 6-inch little green thing. When we were over there in the army, we called it a two-step. Some of you heard of it. It's a toxic venom that gets into your neurological system, not your artery system, like a lot of the toxins are that animal bites are. It gets into your neurological system, and you got like 2 steps, and then you're down. That's why he nicknamed it the two-step, but we did. So I wake up one morning, we're out in the bush, like a lot of times we were, and I rolled up my poncho liner, and I looked down, and there was a two-step. Like it was sleeping underneath my poncho liner that I was laying my head on that night. Back up, looking around, thinking, get the M16? No, I'm not going to shoot it, because then everybody else bashed that in. Put that to death. You said, I need to back away a little further, right? No, because I'm running the other way. I didn't want anybody else to get bit by that. Drastic measures. Put to death those things that you're carrying around that are seen in your life. And then there's those inner things that are discussed just a little bit further down there. This is kind of what you let linger in there because nobody else sees it. Verse 8. But now you yourselves are to put off all these things. Anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy language with your mouth. And don't lie to one another. Okay, we can do that with a smile. Nobody knows. We can fake it real good. We can hate somebody, be bitter towards somebody. We can hate a brother or sister. And all it does is tear you up. So that's like the close now. You're killing one thing, that's the sin, and then you got to get rid of the other stuff. Before you can ever add peace in your life, you got to get rid of the things that are corrupting your life. The garbage can that you're living in is full of this stuff. So cast it off. He names these things. Those are steps toward the peace that's described a little later down the verse. We want the peace. You've got to sacrifice and get rid of the other stuff. To see it for what it really is incredible. Because it just kills us. Makes us sick. It's not good for us in any way. And then verse 10, we get to do this. And then have put on the new man, who has renewed in the knowledge according to the image of God. So now I can put spiritual stuff in it. I can't think real good spiritually while I'm worried about all the other stuff that's out there. Now, it's going to happen. You can discuss some of these things. And if this guy's indicted for that and he's guilty or whatever in politics and in school and FaceTiming where that picture was right, I don't know. Man, don't let it eat your life up. We do that. And it kills us. All these things. And all we do is just talk about that all the time. You meet up. Did you see this? Did you see that picture? This or did you hear about that? And none of it benefits. All it does is just throw more stuff on. And we're just barely keeping our heads above water. God is after the peace that He had in the garden. That's how He started it out. Nice garden, great place to hang out, lovely sunset, all you could ever imagine to eat, everything you could ever want. Don't buy into the world. No, there's some things to think about. We're going to come back tonight. We're going to talk about the rest of this. But it might be time to clean house. For a lot of us, in a lot of ways. As we think toward the holidays and toward January and really trying to be something different, not mean add on more to your list, but be something different. And everything you do now has a new twist, a new focus, and a real worth to it. Then you got to start getting ready for that moment. And these are things that get you on that way. Not because I say so, but because God does. And He knows what He's talking about. What's your relationship like with God? Are you ready to get right this morning? Are you a Christian? Have you been baptized into Christ? You may have. But that song we sang right at the beginning of the lesson, Lord, take control. Have you really said, take control, Lord? I'm dead, cast it off. And if not, start this morning. We sing a song. Think about who you are. If you need to change, come on, stand and sing.